Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Cyber Snippet, where I'm joined by Fear and Damian Paton, and we're going to be discussing cybersecurity for the automation industry. So guys, how has cybersecurity become such an important topic recently in the industry?
I think from my perspective, it's down to the fact that most customers have never had to consider it before. Most OEMs have never had to even consider cyber when most people have been designing machines. It's never been envisaged how they're going to interconnect with other machines and whether there's going to have to be any kind of cyber rules and regulations around it. The changes with the Cyber Resilience Act, but also the Machinery Directive moving to the machinery legislation now in 2027, the changes in there in the standard mean that to CE mark a machine, you're going to have a cyber claim for your machine. And that's a massive change.
What about yourself, Damian? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think, if you look across wider industries, depending on what industry a customer is actually working in, cybersecurity has been becoming more and more important over the last maybe 5 to 6 years. If you think back to Stuxnet, which I'm sure we've covered in a previous episode with Paul, that was really the start of the cybersecurity journey, if you like, for Siemens. And we started off very simply with encrypting communication links between SCADA and the Microsoft database that it was connecting into. And then as each new iteration of software or as standards and requirements have evolved over time, we've seen more and more cyber requirements across wider industries we've been moving forward.
So the Machinery Directive is something that our customers should be very familiar with, but the landscape's changing at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah. So every OEM that sells any machine is fully aware of the machinery regulation, but the Machinery Directive is coming in to replace that. That comes in 2027. And I think the importance of cyber has been borne out by the fact of these changes. What we've seen is the IT layer, which is the area that was the traditional area for a lot of cyber attacks to happen, has now been pretty much sewn up. So there's patches for all of the IT layer. So hackers are finding it increasingly difficult to attack companies through that layer. What that has forced them to do is look for all alternative vulnerabilities, and they found that in the OT, or the operational technology layer, that's the area where all of the machines are sat. Increasingly, customers and users want more data from the machines. They want to understand how things are operating. So it's become natural to connect things. Now, the challenge with that is you've now got access to data from the machines, but those machines were never really designed to be connected. So in a lot of instances, there is no cyber standard, and there's no stops against vulnerabilities. So within all of that, that's where a lot of the vulnerabilities have happened. And once you've got access in the OT layer, you can then roll back up into the IT. So you effectively come in around the security gateways that are built in from external because you're already inside the facility. That's why there's been the change. So that now addresses that in terms of the hardware selection, and that's where Damian comes in.
And that's where we play our part with Siemens as well in the certification of the products.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're seeing more and more of our products now that have been designed and certified to 62443-4-2 certification. And a lot of our customers will be familiar with creating a safety case. If they've done machinery safety at all, you have to document all your SIL level, your risk assessments, and verify the products that you've selected, not just in the product selection, but how they've been engineered, will comply and give you certification against a specific safety standard. And we're seeing exactly the same coming now with cybersecurity. So there's security levels defined by risk assessments, and then you can select your products. But product selection is only one element of it. You still have to engineer your solution in a secure manner. So one of the things that we have is security enabled by default. Now it's enabled by default, but that doesn't mean that you can't just go in and select, I don't want security. So whilst the product is cybersecurity certified, you still have to engineer it and understand what you're doing in order to meet the cybersecurity standards that the application requires.
So when you're speaking to customers, what are the common cybersecurity challenges that they are facing at the moment?
I think the customers are challenged by understanding the regulation. and then understanding how they engineer a solution to meet the requirements. And that may sound obvious, but when you have different security levels that are required for different types of applications and different projects, it's how you engineer your automation solution to meet that security level. And it might be in terms of network segregation, demilitarized zones, encrypted communication between devices, and user management as an example. Yeah.
And I think from an implementation perspective, it's not just a simple case of, right, what do I need to comply? Right, I'll fit this hardware. So we spoke about earlier, it's not just a simple case of let's fit a managed switch instead of an unmanaged switch, and that's fine. It's the competence behind understanding what the impact of that is on the machine. Ultimately, the machine performance can't be degraded because we've now got a cyber claim on it. So we need to consider network traffic. Network design is also becoming an increasing part of the understanding of how do we add these layers of security in, make the machine secure, but also maintain the machine performance.
And how do you support customers with that? What's that first step that you often take in?
So the first step is normally with your account manager or through your distributor to sit with them and start talking through exactly where you're at on that journey. You know, where is it a real understanding of the basics of what's going on, or is it an implementation? And then that's either a conversation with us or through the distribution partner. And then we bring in the relevant experts to support with that design around that solution. Exactly the same as when Safety Integrated came in and it changed from hardwired safety into software-based safety. We're doing exactly the same sort of journey with customers in terms of upskilling, in terms of knowledge and ability to be able to deploy these solutions.
And cybersecurity looks so different for everybody, doesn't it? It can look very different for different machine builders, but there is still that thread of the three main topics: technology, people, and processes, which is what we support with the Defence in Depth and our methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is now at the basics of understanding what the complexity of the machine is. As Damien said earlier, it's different solutions for different complexities of machine and also the end user requirements. Increasingly, it's not just as it was with the safety standard. Everybody decided they were going to design a machine to SIL 3 because that was the best, and then worked out that actually they didn't need to do that. It was the same discussions we're having around cyber. The understanding of how you work out what cyber level you need to make a claim to then dictates which solution you aim at, and then ultimately where we step in.
So we know that cybersecurity can bring its challenges. How can our customers leverage the benefits that it might bring when they're integrated cybersecurity?
One example that springs to mind for me is if I think back sort of 25 years, an operator panel, as an example, would have a default password. And thinking of a password that's not the default password was actually quite difficult. So what you'd have potentially a factory full of machines that were either running exactly the same password for people to go and access and make changes to process information, flow rates, temperatures, whatever else it may be. Or at the other extreme, you'd have an example where you might have 20 machines and they've all got different passwords to get in and administer machine functionality. And effectively, that would be a challenge for anybody, particularly if your facilities are distributed. So, as an example, if you've got distributed sites and you're driving between one water treatment works, as an example, to another, and you've got different passwords that aren't synchronized at all. And one of the key things with OT and IT integration is the fact that we can now integrate our user management systems on an OT level into user management systems at an IT level. And what that means is that a user would be able to walk up to a machine, put in their PC, their IT credentials, so username and password, and access the relevant different levels within that machinery operation. And that could be, again, to change a flow rate, a temperature, whatever else it may be, but it could also, through the integration of TIA portal software, you would have different users with different access rights within the application code. So only qualified or certified people can make changes to the code, but it's all handled at an IT user administration level in exactly the same way that your Microsoft Outlook accounts would be managed, as an example.
And I think that's really important from a continuity perspective. That's all logged. So just the same as when you log onto your PC in the morning, if you log onto a machine and make a change, that's recorded. So from a traceability perspective, who made what change where and when is then all recorded and tracked.
Yeah, it's a great example of where you've brought cybersecurity measures in and you sort of reaping the rewards elsewhere in there, in that continuity, in that sort of tracking list and in that user management.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses have been on a journey as more OT assets have been connected to the IT world. I think what's happened in 2027 is it's just a formalization of that to make sure that everybody is at a common level.
What is your one key message that you want our customers to take away from this video?
I think we've got to get to one key message. I think it's to start now. It's to start understanding what the impact of the changes are and what you need to do as a business to embrace that.
What about yourself, Damien?
Once you've understood what the requirements are, I would just like to signpost 3 webinars that we have hosted on our TIA tutorial site that cover securing the machine. So that's talking about encrypted communications, user management, how you can deploy the automation portfolio to meet cyber requirements. So we've got secure the machine, we've got secure the process, and then finally we've got secure the plant, which covers topics such as secure remote access into facilities. But once you've understood the requirements, there's some really good usable information on those webinars that will help our customer base get started.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for today. I think the main things that we've discussed today is getting yourself started. It's coming, 2027. We know that this regulation's coming and we need to get people ahead. And the upskilling piece. Where are you up to? What do you need to get to? What security level do you need to be? And understanding their sort of situation and where they're at is a great place to be so they can step in and start on that journey.
Absolutely.